everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy hump day. Whoop, whoop. Happy Wednesday to you all. So another video drop. What are we doing today? I get so excited about this. Okay, so glad y'all stopped by. Thank you for that. So I've had a lot of people ask me about the seam gauge that I use and also the seam guides. Okay, so I do have a 1/4 inch seam video. It's pretty lengthy, not gonna lie. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'm not going to remove it because there's a lot of good information on understanding the 1/4 inch seam, because it's not always about the foot. It's not always about the measurement on your machine. It's not always about, you know, a scant or a 1/4. Yes, we do have a scant and a 1/4, but there's so much more in there, understanding that different fabrics do different things and your threads do different things. So I'm going to leave that video. It's an older video, but it's a good one. So I'm going to leave it. But when I did that video, I did not have my seam guides. And these are my absolute 100% favorite thing ever. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I use them and why I like them so much. They go with my 1/4 inch seam, my seam gauge. I have used a lot of different seam gauges, and this one is my absolute favorite go-to. You can find this in the shop. You can find the seam guides in your shop. Now, in the video, I did use this one, and this is actually the exact same one. I've had it for a long time, several years now. And we're going to talk about the differences, and I still use this one, but for different reasons. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to bring you in closer, and I'm just going to show you this seam gauge a little bit up close. And then I'm also going to show you my seam guides, and I'm going to show you this a little bit up close. So that way we can start to talk about it, and then I'm going to bring you into the machine, and I'm going to show you why I like it so much. Okay, so I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so as you can see, I have everything laid out here on my cutting table. Well, it's not even my cutting table, my sewing table. And we're going to talk about a few of these things. So this is the Ideal Seam Gauge. It's from So Very Smooth, and it is my absolute favorite. Now there's a little bit of a glare, so I'm going to put a picture up here so you can actually over there over here, and it'll allow you to see that it has holes, and we go from 1/8 of an inch, a scant, a 1/4, a 3/8, a half, all the way up to a 1 1/2. Now I will tell you, I've never used this, and this is mine, guys. This is it's been through the weather. It's got scratches. You know, the coloring isn't as vibrant because I've used it, but it's several years old, but it's still good to go. So it will last you for a very, very long time. And it does have the instructions printed on here, and it does say it's proudly made in the USA. So for those of you that it's important for, it is made in the USA. So that's the Ideal Seam Gauge, and I'm going to show you on the sewing machine exactly how I use that. This is the Ideal Seam Guide. Now, the one thing I want you to notice is exactly how thick that is. And if we hold up, these little boogers, they're super thin, okay? Very, very different. There's 5 in this package, okay? So I did use this for everything, and I don't even use it to its full potential because there's a lot of things that you can do with this. They do have the So Very Smooth, who also makes this Ideal Seam Guide, which you can also find on our website. I do believe they do have YouTube videos on some of the ways that you can use this, because if you'll notice, you know, we do have a little gap here, and then you have a straight edge over here, and then these are all straight, and then we have a rounded area. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this, but I only use it for a seam guide because it's got a nice long straight line, and it's super thick. So we'll talk about that at the sewing machine too, but I wanted to show you that. And then we have these seam guides, and this is in the shop, and they do come 6 to a package, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open one of these up because I think it'll explain things a little better. You can see them. And I use these all the time, so this one's mine. Okay, which doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Okay, so look at that. These are 1/32 thin. 1/32 of an inch thin, okay? And they do have a piece of paper on it. So when you go to use it, I'm going to go ahead and peel this back. You can see, and then this part, that makes it sticky. Very much so, very, very sticky, okay? So it can be used for a few times. It can last a long time if you don't keep pulling it off, you know. If you run out of bobbin too fast and you're replacing it, or if something happens and it gets caught on something, it might pull up a little bit. But if it just stays, it'll stay a long time. And you can restick them. I'm going to use one that I have. This one right here. Okay. This one does not have the paper on it. And I've used it a couple times. And so you can tell I've got some lint. So I'm going to reuse that so you can still see that it does restick. So that is the guidelines for quilting. Or it's the seam guide, and it's guidelines for quilting is the name of the maker. Okay. And I love them. I love them. I love them. I don't know what I would do without them. So it just helps dramatically. I'm also going to use 2.5 inch squares anytime I do any testing on my 1/4 inch. I try to use the same fabric that I'm using in the project because every fabric can kind of change things, and the same thread that I'm going to use in the project. But I'm just here to demonstrate. This is not all about the 1/4 inch seam. It's all about the seam gauge and the seam guides. Okay. So those are all the items, and let me bring you into the sewing machine, guys, and show you exactly how this works. So I'll see you in just a sec. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine, and I wanted to show you a little bit more close, and you can actually see the holes this way. Exactly what this seam gauge does look like. It is awesome, guys. It's very accurate in the way that I use it. Very, very accurate as far as the scan. I use those the most. I use a 1/2 inch on occasion. I've never, I don't believe, used anything above a 1/2 inch. I don't think I've done any of those, but and then I'll even use the 1/8 inch. You know, like if you're doing a stay stitch or something like that, and you just want to do an 1/8 of an inch, or maybe you're going around a project. You have to be careful with the project because the seam guide is a little thinner, but we're going to talk about that. So the first thing I do, so we're going to do a scant to begin with. So this is my scant, okay? And you just basically put it underneath, and what you're going to want to do is you want to line the hole up. You put the number, all the lines here, the arrows, these are, I think they're arrows. Yeah, they go towards the machine, okay? So your numbers are all away from the needle. So you want to line up that hole as best as you can. Sometimes it's tricky. And you want to lower your needle into the hole. Okay. Now my presser foot is still up, but what I will do is I will line this up as best as possible, as straight as possible, and lower the presser foot so it holds it. Now remember, this one's been used before. I just want to demonstrate how well it goes. Now I'm going to put the seam guide next to the seam gauge. The one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you do not cover your feed dogs if that's a problem, okay? And you just want to simply line it up under there. Whoop, and press it down. Lift the presser foot, lift the needle, and boom. Boom, shakalaka! You are set and ready to go. Now, what I want to show you, well, I'll come back and do that. Okay. So then you just simply, and if you'll notice, look how nice this sits. This is 2 pieces of fabric, It sits so nice. It's like even. Actually, the fabric is just below it a little bit, but it is pretty nice. You just go ahead and lower your presser foot. Whoop. Make sure you're straight. Lower the presser foot. Hold on to your thread. And drop your needle. And sew. And that's it. It's easy as that. Okay.
That was easy.
So that is a scant 1/4 inch, and I would, and you can watch that in the other video, I would press to the dark side and I will press it, and then I want to measure it. 2.5 inch squares put together with a 1/4 inch seam should come out to 2.5 tall by 4.5 wide. If it's off, you'll need to adjust your seam guide. All right. Now let's pretend you did need to adjust it, and you want to go to a 1/4 inch. Then you pull it off, line up so that your needle is with the 1/4 inch. Remember, the arrows go towards the machine, the numbers go away from the needle. You drop your needle down in there, get it nice and straight, lower your presser foot to hold it in place. Line up your seam guide right on next to it. This is the same one still. You can see it's sticking really good. Whoops, I just hit a button, didn't I? All right. And this is what I want to show you guys. I wouldn't pin necessarily with a 2.5 inch squares, but maybe you want to. Whatever it is, I do pin, but do you see how nicely this goes over? Look at that. Whoops, let me move my hand. Look at this. They just slide right over the top. Isn't that awesome? So I could drop my presser foot. Okay. Whoop. You want to make sure you're straight. Okay, drop the presser foot. Hold on to your thread. Drop your needle. I'm going to go ahead and pull that needle out. Okay. Whoop. There we go. Pull that needle out. It's that easy, guys. It is that easy. And again, I would open this up, press it, and measure it to see if it was 4.5 and if I had to make adjustments. So you saw the pins. I'm going to put the pins back in, and I'm going to show you with the seam guide. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off. All right, that's my favorite, but if I need to do binding or something that's really thick, I will use my seam guide. Okay, and not, the ideal seam guide, and not the seam guide, the yellow seam guide for quilting seam guides. So on this one, and I've demonstrated that in that 1/4 inch seam video, because this was my go-to for a while until I found those yellow ones. But what I want to show you, so I've lined up on the 1/4 inch. I place this down, okay? I'm going to lift the presser foot, lift the needle. Here's what I want to show you. The needle does not go over, okay? It's a pain in the butt. So what I have to do if I have to pin is I have to pin backwards. Is it that big of a deal? No, it really isn't. I did this for years until I found those seam guides, those yellow ones. So it's not that big of a deal. It works wonderful. It is absolutely amazing. It also does stick, and I'm starting to see a little bit that I'm not sticking as well. So what that tells me is I have to clean it, and they tell you how to clean it. So everything is good to go. But that's one of the things. But because this one is so thin, when you go to put something really thick on, it could easily go over the top of it. So when I do binding, this is my preferred seam guide, okay? And it's because of just how thick that really is. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. Now you can see why and how I use my guidelines for quilting, seam guides, my yellow babies with my ideal seam gauge absolutely amazing. 2 products that I cannot live without. I don't do it well anyway. I can live without it, but I don't do it well. And then my ideal seam guide for those larger, thicker projects. So that's it for now. I'm going to see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so there you have it, guys. For all of y'all that have been asking, sometimes it's a matter of seeing it in a video and I say that it's there, but I have not really talked about it. I have had lots of questions. I hope those answered your questions. They are my absolute favorites. Can't live without them. We have the Ideal Seam Guide by Guidelines for Quilting, and the Ideal Seam Gauge by Sew Very Smoothly, and the Ideal Seam Guide also by Sew Very Smooth, not So Very Smoothly, Sew Very Smooth. So you can find all of that in the shop. It's underneath in the shop. I'll put the address right down here. It's www.haloinspired.com/shop. Once you're there, it's under the Notions tab. In the description box below, I'll have the exact link for all of these items in case you're interested. Check it out. Check all the things out. And you know the drill, guys. I will be on at 3 p.m. today, Eastern Time, as I'm here in Virginia, for a live Q&A, live quilting and answers. I hope you will join. Feel free, though, to leave your comments down below. We love to hear from you. Love to chit chat with you. Keep that connection going. I hope this answered questions for you, but if you have any more, don't hesitate to show up today at 3, my time, Virginia, or drop them down below in the comments section. So that's all I got for today. Don't forget, if you like this video, like, share. Maybe somebody else really needs this. So don't forget to share with your friends, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, ting, that'll let you know every time we drop a new video. But, yeah, that's it for today. So, until next time, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful, never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy quilting. See y'all soon. Bye-bye for now.